under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. We have 3 agenda items this evening. First agenda item is the planning board number 20-12 Smith Fritz site plan. Anybody here for that? Please sign in. This one, yeah.
Technology here is about 40 years old. There's none in there? Just use the one. Cheryl, there's no batteries in the microphone. Are they the right ones? There were some. The individual who normally handles this is on vacation.
Took the batteries out.
No, I know we have some that work and don't work. Mike, can you check yours? Where are those? Your noise. Tap it again. That's crazy.
Sorry about that, folks.
Bingo. Mr. Young.
Again, this is PB 20-12 Smith Fritz site plan. Is here.
Jeffrey Hall, this is Lucy Chris, the homeowner. We are here for final approval of the site plan. We passed zoning board, and
You ready for the bottom, right?
We'll start off with the correspondence. The PRC has no additional comments on the comments submitted by other agencies for this project. From the Office of Building, Zoning and Planning, dated February 24th, 2020, from Jane Slavin. Ms. Slavin has 3 comments. The complete site development plan signed and sealed by New York State professional engineer and land surveyor must be submitted addressing all comments. Easement must be indicated on the site development plan for new sewer lines. The applicant is reminded that no work can begin and no permit will be issued until all comments are met from the various agencies. All approvals are obtained and the final site plan is stamped by the chief clerk to the board. In the Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, dated February 24th, 2020, from Mr. Peters. Mr. Peters has 7 comments. Any issues with any?
Well, actually, we'll address all of the comments.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
my suggestion, you might want to read condition number 3.
Okay, Mr. Dell. Condition number 3, site borings, perk tests, and determination of groundwater elevation shall be performed at the proposed dry well locations. These tests shall be performed prior to this approval receiving final approval to ensure the adequacy of the proposed design. The test shall be performed in the spring when the groundwater table is typically at its highest. It's a pretty standard language by our engineer in this
Right.
department.
But I wonder why we have to wait till the spring.
Just when the groundwater is the highest. And it's like 3 weeks, so.
Mr. Chairman, it can still be a condition,
Right.
and we're already at the end of February. So by the time the final site plan is stamped, you can probably obtain that information.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm saying he can probably obtain it.
Any other issues with Mr. Peters' letter?
Which one is Peters?
Second. Well, the same one.
Environmental management?
Yes.
Engineering? Oh, okay. Okay, well, we received this letter this morning, and our engineer hasn't had a chance to address these comments completely, but she did respond to all of them, and we will address them.
That's fine. From Brooker Engineering, dated February 26, 2020, from Ken DeGennaro. Mr. DeGennaro has 10 project comments. Goes to his conclusion. The information provided demonstrates that potential significant adverse impacts with respect to drainage can be mitigated. Therefore, we recommend that the Chris site plan be approved for drainage subject to the above project comments. So you have drainage. From Department of Planning, dated January 27, 2020, from Doug Schutz. He has following 7 recommendations. Any issues with Mr. Schutz's comments?
None other than we will address them.
Pretty generic comments. Moving on from the Rockland County Department of Health, February 6, 2020, from Elizabeth Mello. Ms. Mello has 2 comments. Architectural plan showing addition of guest room and basement, which increases the number of bedrooms, therefore the existing septic will need modifications. Engineering plans will need to be submitted to this office.
Well, we're running a sewer line, so I don't see how those comments are relevant.
Very good. Rockland County Highway Department, Diane Registem, reference to the application. The applicant has not responded to their comments from October 29th of 19.
Wait, who is that, Rockland County?
County Highway. Letter on the 29th of October was drainage report shall be prepared and submitted for drainage system on the property. The report shall be provided to demonstrate the existing proposed drainage system is adequately designed to produce no net increased runoff. and a road permit will be obtained from Rockland County Highway.
Right, we'll obtain the permit, but,
We've already gotten drainage approval.
yeah, I mean, we have.
The correspondence from Rockland County Highway, stating no comments. Rockland County Health, comments attached, comments attached. What we had, Cheryl?
That's it.
Comments, Ms. Mandel?
Yeah, just looking at Director Slavin's comment. Is it satisfied we need a complete site plan signed off by an engineer and surveyor? That's in,
It has not been submitted yet.
so we don't have final.
Right now, they're on multiple pages. It's not, there's not a formal site plan.
So we still need that in order for approval.
Right. Cheryl needs to be able to stamp one plan that contains all the information.
Do the plans we currently have all the information on in different spots?
For the most part,
So they're still missing some stuff.
well, they're missing some of the comments that were just read.
And regarding Rockland County Highway, you may have a drainage report, and I don't know if the drainage report covered it since we didn't get it till 4:35 o'clock this afternoon. Rockland County Drainage, where they asked in both the January 23rd letter said they haven't received a response, and the original letter was from November 1st, which stated the drainage report shall be prepared and submitted for the drainage system in the property. The report shall be provided to demonstrate the existing proposed drainage system is adequately designed to produce no net increase in peak rate of discharge from the site onto all designated points. And we're talking about county highway. Has that been submitted, or are we just disregarding Rockland County Highway? That's my question on this.
Well, we wouldn't be disregarding it. They would have to comply and receive approval from them before Cheryl can stamp the plan.
No, because his statement was, we got drainage reports, so it's fine. But if it doesn't satisfy Rockland County Highway, it's not.
Right, all of the comments will have to be addressed before Cheryl can stamp the plan and then release it for
Okay, I
permit.
just want to be clear that they can't say,
Correct.
because one said it satisfies. Okay, nothing further at this time, wait if there's any comments from the public. Thank you.
I have no additional comments. I don't have any comments either.
Mr. Bond?
No comments.
Mr. Dell?
I just concur with many of the comments Mr. Mandel made.
Mr. Courtney?
No comments.
Okay. Hearing none, would anybody from the public like to speak regarding this project? Second?
Second.
Swing seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. This is for final?
Yes.
Do you affirm anything?
I think this is the first, so lead agency.
Well,
Was
we
there a
did, this is
preliminary?
final, we did the
Oh.
lead agency preliminary level.
So yeah, you can just reaffirm secret.
So I make a motion to reaffirm.
2 seconds.
Second.
Mr. Mandel, all in favor?
Aye. Make a motion final with conditions?
We just received final approval.
Motion.
Oh, I see.
You've many conditions to fulfill
Right, right, right.
before you're going to get final.
Right.
Again, we just got the drainage report this evening, and Rockland Highway is not, I'm sure, read it yet, so. Conditions, we have Ms. Slavin's 3 comments. Mr. Peters, 7 comments. For engineering, there's 10 comments. Rockland County Planning has 7. Rockland County Health has 2. Rockland County Highway still needs 2 addressed in their October 29th letter. That's it, Chuck?
That's it.
Second.
Sweeney seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next project up is Planning Board 20-13, Safe and Sound Site Plan. They're here for preliminary site plan approval. Mr. Brennan, will you
Yes, I will.
kind of explain your project, please?
Okay, Safe and Sound has been a operating school at this location since 1995. They have received permission from the town, it's going back to 95, as you see in the reports they were given. They've continuously got permission to continue from the zoning board under special permit.
As I said before, they've been operating in this town since 1995. They got permission from the zoning board in 1995. They got a renewal of their special permit in 2005. And just as recently in 2019, they got renewal for their special permit for a 20-year period, which went back to 2010. It's going to be lasting until 2026. The school is located in two existing buildings, and it's really outgrown its area, and therefore what they're doing, this application is to expand and build a brand new school. The school will be a brand new school. Once it's finished and completed, the old school will be demolished. And primarily what I have before you is the design. We have the engineer surveyor here, we have the landscape architect, and we'll present the project, the new project.
Thank you, Mr. Brennan.
Let's start it. Or maybe you want to read the comments and then we'll.
Anything you want to say, Mr. Greenwell?
Uh,
Any comments?
Guys, if you could pass the microphone so that
Yeah.
the audience can hear.
Jay Greenwell, land surveyor, land planner. What we've done is design a facility with the assistance of the architect and the landscape architect and the civil engineer, utilizing the existing entrance off of Middletown Road, looping around into Lewis. And as Mr. Brenner said, the building will be built behind the existing structure so that it doesn't have to go out of business while they're in this process. And then the structure will be removed. The existing multifamily structure at the front, the parking lot will be resurfaced and formalized so that the spaces are much more accessible and much more neat and much more aesthetic appearance. So basically, we'd like to hear the comments and then we'll respond and listen to the public and hear what they have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Greenwell. PRC has no additional comments beyond the comments submitted by other agencies for this project. From the Offices of Building, Zoning, and Planning, dated February 26, 2020, from Jane Slavin. Slavin has 4 comments.
The summary and then
The summary
comments.
of the item I was just going to ask. We'll go through that. Site development plans are prepared by Jane Brewer. Proposal is for construction of a new 12,889 square foot child care center to replace the existing 3,000 square foot building. The existing building is to be demolished upon completion of the construction of the new building. Per chapter 43, table 3.11, CO district childcare uses are not uses permitted by right. However, column 5, general accessory uses, number 8 refers to same as CC number 5 in the CC district, column 5. General accessory uses, number 5, child daycare centers in conjunction with churches and similar places of worship, schools, offices, hotels, motels, and all parking and outdoor play areas complying with all required yards as provided for in 3.12. We have an approval history, March 10th of 93, PV 93-21, proceed subject to conditions. September of 95, preliminary approval. October of 95, ZBA 95-66. Conditional use is granted for as long as the property is operated as a daycare center by the current principals that now represent the school. This conditional use shall not exceed 5 years, as which time it will expire, and no right to continue to operate is permitted unless further approvals, if any, are granted. In September of 96, final approval was granted with conditions. April 2005, ZBA granted a 5-year renewal of the special permit. November 2019, ZBA special permit extension was granted until December 1st of 2026. Slavin has 4 comments. The applicant must return to ZBA for review and approval. Active review is required. Number 3, the required side yard is 35 feet plus the 15-foot required buffer for a total required setback to the proposed structure of 50 feet. The setback shown is 47 feet. The applicant has agreed to move the building 3 feet to the east to comply. The EAF appears to be in order. That's it for the building, zoning, and planning. In the Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, Bruce Peters. Mr. Peters has 13 comments. Any issues with any of the comments?
Number 8, I do, he indicates that the proposed driveway opening along Lewis Avenue is too wide, maximum driveway opening shall be 20 feet. The irony is, we were at project review, and the fire inspector was saying that we should give some consideration to widening the driveway. So, you know, we will work that out with TEME, but we would like to keep the driveway opening at 24 feet.
So it's 20.
24.
We have
You have it at 24, and he's
Right.
asking for 20.
and the fire department's asking to make it a little wider, but I think we will be able to live with the 24.
Any other comments to Mr. Peters?
No, we have no objection to those.
Moving on, Brooker Engineering, February 26, 2020, from Ken DeGennaro. Mr. DeGennaro has 11 project comments. I'll read his recommendation. The proposed action has provided sufficient drainage information that demonstrates that potential significant adverse impacts with respect to drainage can be mitigated. We therefore recommend that the safe and sound child care site plan be approved for drainage subject to the above project comments.
We will comply with those conditions.
From the Rockland County Department of Planning, February 5th, 2020, from Doug Schutz. Mr. Schutz has 9 comments.
No objection.
Rockland County Highway, February 5th of 2020, from Diane Rajashinhan. There are 5 comments. We'll read number 2. As proposed, a portion of the area in the property along North Middletown Road should be gratuitously dedicated to the county prior to applying for a road work permit from the RCHD.
That actually is shown on the plan.
Thank you, Mr. Boomer. Rockland County Sewer District Number 1, February 21st, 2020. Joseph LaFiandra, 2 comments. They're generic. They did not object to Rockland. Planning board serving as lead agency, nor do they object to the plan as shown. We have correspondence from Rockland County Planning, Rockland County Highway, Orangetown ZBA, consenting to the planning board being the agency, and correspondence regarding comments made. Anything else, Shel? That's it. Okay. Gentlemen?
Sure.
I'm sorry, I have Mr. Brenner's letter I didn't read it. That's a narrative, Mr. Brenner, right? Yeah. You've got the narrative. Mr. Mandel?
Okay, couple of questions. There we go. What's the total acreage to be physically disturbed? That's in the short environmental assessment form, number 3, on page 1.
The area, the limit of the area to be disturbed is shown on sheet 2, and it's 2.29 acres. And that's why a stormwater pollution prevention plan is required, which has to be over the DEC and the approval. So
Okay.
it's in the process of being generated.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking is, it says the total acreage of the proposed site is 2.69 acres. And what are we saying the proposed disturbances on that 2.69?
It's gonna be 2.29.
2.29?
Correct.
Please add that the form.
Jay, I sent an email earlier.
Yes, I forwarded that to Donald, because he,
And I have it corrected for.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Why are we placing entrance and exit on Lewis Avenue rather than widening one off Orangetown Road, since you need a wider entrance to the large school buses that you said you take? You still take vans, but you take the Washington High School buses. Why can't we have that entrance and exit right off Middletown Road?
the traffic circulation would then require a huge area for buses and fire vehicles to turn around. We felt that this was a very through pattern, which would eliminate any backing up of vehicles and facilitate emergency vehicles as well as school buses and a circulation pattern. That's why we made the entrance on Middletown Road only one way in.
There is no traffic light there, that was, an operational wise, it was a safer way to do it.
So currently, where the buses and everybody else come around on the buses?
In the area in front of the school, but it's not an ideal situation.
Yeah, I didn't see any comments from Mr. Bettman regarding the fire statement on that.
The only comment we had from him was he wanted to make it wider.
Yeah, that's, I know, but,
Actually, Mike wasn't at project review.
right, I know, yeah, right there, so. So why is it two-way on Lewis then? In and out of Lewis, why isn't it just a continuous flow around?
We felt that it would be a better traffic pattern in and out, but
Well, it's something to be considered, you know, I see what other people are saying, and anybody else is here. So they still leave it put in full swift. What about Rockland County, they suggest the current driveway due to the addition should be resurfaced, any plans?
absolutely. The entire new driveway will be created with curbs and only blacktop. And what I was saying before is that there's an easement for multifamily structure up in the southeast corner of the parcel, and that whole parking lot would be resurfaced as well.
And one last thing, regarding the drainage. Are we going with an underground or is it gonna be above ground? Did we ever settle that with DEME?
Yes, and you'll note that Bruce Peters' comments did not address that with this current. The DEC regulations indicate that this system is an approved system, and the underground, we felt, would be much safer. We would not want to be putting an above-ground pond, which would be an attractive nuisance for children, especially in this location, especially with this type of use.
All right, no further at this time, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Madell. Mr. Sweeney?
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Two questions. First one, on Jane Slater's comment, just number one, what does that go to the ZBA for review for?
Well, they obtained a special permit
Okay.
based on the original site plan
Oh,
and the existing structure. So they have to go back because the special permit was granted based on that site plan.
To 2026, and now it's gonna be reaffirmed.
Now, at minimum, the ZBA will have to make a decision on how they want to address it, but at minimum, it's gonna have to be amended because the building and site plan that they granted the special permit on will no longer.
Ultimately, it's gonna be demolished.
Be voided.
that answers my question, so that November 30th extension won't, does not pertain to the new project.
Not at
It's the
all,
existing.
correct. The zoning board has not seen this.
So that's why they have to go back for review, okay?
Correct,
And I could board as well.
correct.
Okay, got it. My other question is on the plans, that's page one. It says, possible future lot line for, so what's the idea of putting a plot line in the middle of the property?
We wanted to show you where, because this property would be in the back, and we have plans to develop the front eventually. We didn't want to, we wanted to show you where that might be, that's all.
So if you develop it eventually, what happens to that path of the driveway coming through?
That would stay. That
That's,
would,
okay, that's a future project, it's not part of this project?
No.
And we would have to, if we're going to develop the front part, we would have to come back to the board's approval.
Right now, it's just one part.
correct. We indicated on the plan that we require planning board approval, and it was just shown for informational purposes.
Okay, great, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Mr. Sanders?
I have no comments right now until after the public speaks.
Mr. Bond?
You understand, you've outgrown the space that you're in now, but it's 3,000 square feet. You're proposing almost 13,000 square feet, which seems kind of big. It's like 4 times what you had, so what's the reason for that?
I can speak.
Show me Quinn.
Yeah.
All right, I can jump in there
My
too.
sister.
But you
One
you
at a
just,
time.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the
yeah, you just need to come up.
Yeah.
There will be a public portion that you can speak.
I'll just say that the existing center that's been there, my sister has operated since 1987, has obviously outgrown the space, and she has a waiting list. And the reason for this space is the size of the classrooms, even though that the existing school is small, with the regulations of a new school, you need, and so the amount of students are, it's from 62 to 128, sorry about that. It's not gonna- That's the reason for the increase,
So you're proposing roughly doubling the size of...
doubling of the size of the business, yes.
And you're talking about possibly subdividing this piece in the future. I mean, what type of use do you foresee that being? You know?
It would be a conforming use in the,
Without vote.
in the CO zone.
Well, right now, we have nobody.
Right. And this is a totally non-conforming use.
Well,
That you're using now, so.
we don't, there's disagreement on that, but I think the easiest way to handle it is let the zoning board decide what they wanna do. Because these variances run with the land, so it's a proper use, but let the zoning board finally decide how they wanna handle it.
And this other parcel that's on the corner of East Lewis, is that a parcel that you guys own, or is
Yeah.
that? Okay, but I see that's not part of the application.
It's a separate lot, yeah.
So there's a house on there now.
It's a multifamily, yes. It's gonna
So there's
Ultimately,
future plans for that also.
stay. Right at the moment, I mean, that's his say.
right.
That's his, yeah.
My concern is the overall use of everything together you're talking about a lot of use.
When the next, when the next one comes in,
Yeah.
then the board will have to decide if they use it.
Okay. Mr. Dell?
Yes, thank you. Obviously, what I see, like all the other members are saying, all of their own points of view. First of all, let's start out, what are the proposed hours of operation? Is this going to change? Is it,
Just come up there, let me just.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, let me just come up there.
You just need to sign it, you need
Okay.
to sign it over here and stand. You can pull the chair to.
Right here?
Yeah.
Monday through Friday, 6:30.
Wait, wait, wait.
Oh,
Take
my spot. Okay.
Microphone for you.
Sit on the agenda. I guess the, hold on.
Okay. It's a 12-hour day. It always is a 12-hour day. 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m., Monday through Friday, year-round. We never close. Rarely for holidays as well. We're open.
okay, how many children are now accommodated?
46 in the building 247s, 16 in 249.
Okay,
I have
so,
an infant center, Precious Moments. It's 2 separate corporations.
okay, so it's
It's very small.
maximum of 62. What are you proposing to put
It's
this
64.
up?
It's 46 and 16,
All right, well, close enough.
but minus, yeah.
Low to mid-60s. How
Sure.
many gonna be, how many places will be available for children when this expansion is complete?
It'll be double. The 64 will be 128. We're proposing for 30 school age, which I stopped doing. I can't. There's just such a need for it, so that will be included in it. The problem with what I'm doing now is that, let's just take a 5-year-old classroom, which is the senior pre-K, is 1:8 ratio. I can only have 12 in that classroom for square feet, but I need 2 teachers. 1:8, I can only have 12. I lose 4 tuitions in every classroom. I've been doing that for 32 years. Our infant program is 1-2. 2 babies K, I pay a background in nursing that have been there forever. My staff is fantastic. So infants is just a community service at this point. It's family-owned property for going on 50 years, and it's just kind of time to take it to the next level. We are always full enrollment, and I thought it would be an opportune time to do this.
Okay, now, no questions.
With a wait list, you know, it's a need.
Why you might need
And I
more
love it.
space, and the nature of your business and the service you're providing. I'm looking at it primarily from a planning point of view. Now, parking, how many existing spaces are there now?
Just enough. Yeah.
There's probably as many as is proposed, because there's.
Well, I think we need a little bit something more specific. Are you doubling the size of the parking
No,
lot?
no,
When we
no.
get all done with it? But what about, why do you have so many spaces over here in the extreme southerly side?
Because it says 1
We
for
have, we
each.
have required 40 and we're providing 43.
And how many are there now?
We have 30, 25 to 30, because it's spread out. We have a lot of therapists that come in. We have a lot of visitors. We do. We provide a lot of services, 5 to 10 therapists a week.
Now,
In and out.
again, you know, I certainly understand the requirements. As I said, I'm just looking at it from a planning viewpoint in terms of its impact on the contiguous properties and the neighborhood itself. The ingress and egress plans, I think that's been made sort of clear. You'll have buses coming in and out of here,
Yes.
and buses will now be entering and exiting on Lewis. Is that true?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. About how many buses a day?
Well, that's the thing. There's only 3 schools. There's St. Margaret's, Lincoln, Evans, Franklin. We used to have our own bus over the years that just everybody got on the bus and they just did drop-offs at the different schools. Even if it doubles, it's not going to double the bus. They'll just all get on that
Well, how
bus.
many buses?
I
are
say
there?
5 a day, not even.
5,
2,
and it
3
may go up
coming.
to 10, is what
I'm
you're
sorry?
saying? It's 5 now and it may go up to 10, is that what you're saying?
No,
I
the
don't
buses
think,
are-
I don't think it's going to create maybe 1 or 2 more, but it's not going to,
Are we talking full-size buses or like
Some I have, we have some, you know, Starting Place, Joanio, we have different services going on that we provide observations for and follow with therapists and busing and all of that, so.
Okay, has there been any discussion of their needing a traffic study for this? Don't think that's necessary? or-
This is the first appearance at the board, so.
Okay, I'm questioning whether or not that might indeed be necessary. I'm trying to find out what's going on here. My overall impression is I'm sure you've got a great business and I'm sure you're providing a very needed service. I would like to hear what the community has to say. But my overall reaction to it this time is, you pardon the analogy, you have almost like a 7-Eleven and you're going to something, you know, almost approaching a larger shopping center. The impact it's going to have on this area is going to be quite substantial. And again, I would like to hear what the contiguous properties have to say, because they are certainly those, the people who are going to be most affected by what you have here. My overall impression, having done this for some time, is it feels like overdevelopment. But other people have other views, and I want to hear what the community has to say. Thank you very much, sir.
Let's move on.
Yes, I agree that it's a drastic change, this property. And I was wondering, when you came up with the plan, did you consider the effect on the neighbors to the south?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have a landscaping plan that addresses it. There's also a very substantial drop-off if you look at the second page.
Can't hear.
With respect to the idea of overdevelopment, I would like to call attention to the fact that the proposed floor area ratio is 0.11 when the maximum permitted is 0.2. So we're basically at about half of what would be permitted. The lot size is supposed to be 30,000 square feet. We have 117,000 square feet. There will be substantial landscaping around the perimeter. Yes, there will be toddler and infant play areas in the back of the property, but there is a substantial drop-off in grade to the west. The backyards of the properties to the west are basically at an elevation of about 320, and we are up at about 340 for the main activities and the building area itself. And if you drive down the side road where the backs of the buildings, the residences abut, there is a substantial view that is looking up to the backyard, where you're really not going to see what's happening in this yard due to the change in grade.
No, my concern is that driveway off of Lewis. You know, the impact it'll have on that street and the neighbors, with the buses coming in and out. I don't know if I can support a plan that has buses coming off Lewis. I don't understand why you can't come off North Middletown Road.
Middletown Road is a very busy road. It's also
That's
very
where the
difficult,
traffic belongs, on a very busy road.
but it's also more difficult to make an intersection there where it's directly opposite Manor Boulevard, where the entrance would be appropriate for in and out. We very carefully designed something that did not have a new exit onto Middletown Road.
You have a new exit onto Lewis End.
Right, but Middletown Road and Lewis Avenue is a much more well-designed intersection than
It's
the
just
new.
very disruptive to neighbors. And one of our main things we do up here is we concerned about the effect on neighbors. You know, it's in the town code, I even like to bring it with me. We have to ensure that the health, safety, welfare, comfort, and convenience of the public is fully considered. So when I look at this plan, I don't feel like it's fully considered as it stands right now. So that's my comment. Thank you.
So the size of the lot now, that's this whole parcel?
That's correct.
So it's not gonna be that way in the future, so it's all.
No, but it will have to comply with the floor area
You know.
ratio.
I mean, it's in the commercial zone, there's no zone change, so this is something that is, it's always been commercial.
Oh, I understand that, but what you're using, you're saying you're using this whole lot ratio now. But it's not go away down the road.
No, we're
It's
not,
not included in here?
not included the corner, no. Corner's a separate lot.
Not the corner.
No, this piece of the house is a separate lot.
there's a future lot line proposed, so.
If this does come to pass, the reason that because there is a plan eventually to do something with the front parcel, but that would have, again, it would have to come back.
Right now, it's one parcel.
That's correct.
That's what I'm saying. So if it's one parcel, these numbers here are taken into consideration if that's just one parcel.
That's correct.
So,
So should we have that one?
yeah, I would say, you wouldn't have it there, you know.
Well, subsequently, not right now, no need for, right now.
We
it's-
can remove it.
Depends what you want to do with it too, in the future, that's.
Right now, it's a rooming house, I think, isn't it?
Yes.
Right, that building's being ripped down, once the transition is moved? Or what's
The
happening?
school buildings
The
are.
school building is being
The
removed.
school buildings are
Yeah,
being
this-
ripped out.
This building.
This one.
This one, right.
No, this is the same, yeah, I get this one, this is a separate lot now, to begin with, it always has been, so.
Mhm.
Let me just go back to the busing issue that the board member said. The buses will be coming in early in the morning,
About, between 8 and 9.
8 and 9 coming, and they're all coming off of Middletown Road and exiting onto Lewis.
No, you mean in the future?
Well, yeah, I mean, when
Proposed?
the project's on.
There's not a lot of buses. I mean, it's strictly Pearl River. There's only transportation provided if you're in Pearl River. I've had between 15 and 20 children. We're proposing 30. It could be 100. There's just such a need for it. I have children there now whose mothers were children there. Teachers on staff who were children there. It's just been something that I'm wanting to continue to do in honor of my parents who sacrificed and toiled forever on this property and wanted to see something beautiful on it. The reason for the size of that, you're saying that it's so much bigger, and there is a reason for it, is all the hallways and stairwells and bathrooms and unisex and this and that. There's so many laws and codes, and that's why, because where we are now is just the classroom and the bathroom, and the classroom and the bathroom. And it's very simple and it works, but I'm lacking space.
So with the busing will be coming in 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, nothing during the day with any buses,
Nothing,
nothing?
and we're not there at
And they're
6.
gonna be leaving, what time will they be picking up and leaving in the afternoon?
Who, the
The
school?
buses.
They
Thinking
don't-
about the traffic.
They drop them on.
They drop them?
It's just a pickup and a drop off.
All right, so we're,
And not in the summer, it's September through June, and there's.
so they don't pick them up after school hours? I mean, how do the kids get home?
Their
After-
parents,
Oh, parents.
yeah.
So it's one day, I mean, it's one time in the morning.
The parents drop off the children in the morning, and the
Okay.
buses come and get the children and take them to the schools. And then they drop them back in the afternoon, and then the parents pick them up. There's usually all siblings.
So it's not only buses, but it's parents coming in and out also?
It's a daycare center.
Yeah, okay. No, I understand.
Yeah, it's, for that infant toddler preschool. But we're not there after 6:30 on a weekday. It's empty, silent, and we're not there on the weekends. And the major holidays, we're not there. So parents love their daughters to work there because they're not in the mall at night. It'll double staffing. There's so many pluses to it.
No, I understand all that.
Now, the buses are gonna enter off the town?
I'm sorry?
I can see a need for an extra large daycare. There's more and more because more parents are working today.
Yeah, this is actually not that large. They're usually 250, 300, we're 128. The 30 upstairs is school age, just 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon. It seems to be just something that is necessary.
There's a need.
Yeah.
Jones?
Yes, Mr.
No.
Duffy.
Just clarify one thing.
Is that on?
When I was referring to overdevelopment, I wasn't referring to zoning or anything else like that, and requirements and floor area ratios, which you as a very seasoned professional have obviously taken care of. It's just the amount of this happening in an area that's surrounded on two sides by residential properties. That's what I'm not convinced about. But thank you very much. That's it.
Mr. Dell, if you take a look, you'll see that you have a big office building to the north, and you have a medical building over.
They're on Milltown Road. They're not on the road.
I have taken a look, I understand that, sir, but it's just the amount of development you're having this far up on Lewis.
Rossi's old building.
Rossi's building goes all the way back.
Yeah, but it doesn't, you're going in and out of it off Milltown Road.
Well,
All those buildings you're going in and out of off Milltown Road, you're not going off the side street.
just seems to be a safer way of doing it. You're not dealing, you're dealing with parents that are coming in with children. It just seems a safer way to handle it, where they come in on Middletown Road, drop off the children, and then go out on a side street. It's safer for the, this is not adults. This is infants and children up to the age of 5. It just seemed a better way of handling it.
From a safety viewpoint, many things you're probably right. I'm just concerned about its impact on the overall neighborhood, and just wondering if this might be too much in this lot. But that's again, one viewpoint.
And there's no proposal for a height on Lewis Avenue?
Not now.
Lewis Avenue, it's just about impossible to make a left there when there's traffic there.
Well, you know, you've got that,
That's the way it is now.
you've got that large piece of property across the
I-
street. We don't know what's gonna happen with that.
Yeah.
That maybe a light will wind up there, but
Yeah,
so far it's for sale, that property.
yeah.
We don't know about it.
And this property had been for sale too, right?
No,
Or,
property's not for
or you
sale.
just had another project you were gonna do? Wasn't there something that came, that was proposed or
Never had a,
on a
Never-
web? It
never
was,
for
it was on a
sale.
website about a retail space or something like that, that was out there.
Development.
there was a
Yeah,
development, there was a
yeah.
development.
But, I mean, so,
No.
yeah, I mean, there was a sign on the property.
Yeah, there was a sign on the
Yeah.
property. yeah.
Development.
But
And
it
then
was,
but, you know, it was proposed in retail, I mean, so is that gonna be, like, you can still develop this property, I mean, are you gonna put the school here and then put retail here down the road? I mean, that's a problem if that's the case, you know?
if,
Right now, we're just concentrating on the
if the
school.
proposal, when they come back, it's a proposal for something in the front, that's, you rule on that, that's your ruling. You can say, no, it's not gonna fit into the concept of something like that. This has been here for over 50 years. This has provided a service to the poor of the people, and it's needed, okay? They have to come back if they're gonna do something else in the front. They keep
But
it,
it's been there on the whole property,
pardon me?
it's been there on the whole property.
But it's not big enough.
No.
You and the.
I understand it's not big enough,
Mr.
but now
Bond,
you're putting on the back piece of the property and you're talking about coming in and
Because
subdividing this other
to
piece
keep
down the
that
road.
operating, that's the best place to build, and they can keep the school operating.
It's the only.
Then when, it's the old buildings, then when the new school's there, the old buildings come down. It's the only way you can keep the business going.
What if you extended the school, the current building,
Those
as
buildings,
opposed to
It's
a
not,
whole
those buildings-
12,000 square foot,
Exactly.
no?
Like squeeze the lemon.
they don't meet the code, they,
yeah, it's not.
if you really take a look at
We
the
do.
architects, you see how they're providing meeting rooms, they're providing inside gym rooms and things like that. That's what new centers like this require. They are fully licensed from the state of New York since they opened up, and they're meeting the requirements of the state.
Any other questions, gentlemen?
I just wanted to add before somebody, I have great respect for everybody on East Louis. I could probably name every house, every family, all the way down. Friends, clients, neighbors, local business people. I, with all respect to everybody, have no intention of, but it seems to me that there was comments that you're receiving that that's not just from you, but that, was there concern with that? Can I ask about the people on East Louis? You keep bringing up the neighbors.
Well, the neighbors are gonna speak shortly.
Okay.
That's not,
So I'm feeling that. Okay,
so no, this is the first time we've seen this project.
I
so
see.
we we are concerned about the neighborhood, and as you can see, I'm fairly confident most of these people are here for this project. So I'll open it up to the public. Please come up, state your name. You will have up to 3 minutes to speak.
Oh,
No, no.
Comes out.
The microphone.
Public portion is open, please come up.
I wouldn't mind speaking first. Hi.
Can you have your name and your address? Speak clearly.
Okay. Sure. My
No,
name
no, no,
is.
no, no, speak to
Your name and address, please.
Okay, my name is Helen Teresa Talismanic. I live at
Wait, spell your last name.
Okay, Telesmanic.
Thank you.
I live at 132 Neptune Drive, Monroe, New York, 10950. I have been working for Safe and Sound for 9 years. I used to live in Pearl River. I used to live on 18 South 7th Street, Pearl River, New York. I used to rent, and I decided to buy a house, so I moved up to Monroe. But I still happily work for Safe and Sound. I drive all the way in, but I actually don't drive. My husband drives. I don't have a license, so he drops me off. And I open up the infant daycare center, which is actually the group family that's not part of Safe and Sound, but it's the sister company for Safe and Sound. I originally started working for Safe and Sound, but I became the director or a group family on-site provider for the infant care that Jolene was talking about, which is the ratios are 1:2. And we also have this small school age program. I can honestly tell you that from all the parents I've spoken to, all the parents I've seen in my 9 years and then some, that this group family daycare and the Safe and Sound is so much needed. Parents are begging to bring their children to daycare, and we have no spots open. They are so happy with our care. We're such a loving, happy environment. We give joy to the children while we give them education, and we hit every milestone we possibly can. We try to do everything possible to make it a wonderful day every day. And it makes me really sad because Safe and Sound really needs an upgrade. It needs just things. The building has gotten old, and it would be amazing to have a big center, because then all the other families that are in such need for daycare will have a place. Because I hear on the news and on the Rockland Mommies and all the other places that all these daycares are closing. And these parents are begging me and Geraldine and our Safe and Sound for a place for their child, and we don't have a place for them. So all we ask them to do is to wait, or we put them on a waiting list, or we wait till other children graduate and put more children in. So I find it very sad that I understand what you're talking about with the bus, and I care about safety too. But it is like 45 minutes of a day. That's it. It's in the morning. It's from 8:15 to 9 o'clock, because I see the buses myself. I used to take the children off the buses myself. And it's from 3:15 to 4 o'clock, except when there was half days or something like that, or there's days where they needed a shelter because their electricity went out, or they had no water. Then we were their shelter in place, and we took care of them. I don't know what else to say.
that's very good, Teresa. Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Young,
Someone was-
given how many people want to speak, maybe 3 minutes, we should.
My name is Bridget Georgakopoulos. Do you want me to spell that?
Yes, please.
Okay, GEORGAKOPOULOS. And I'm at 53 East Lewis. Actually, my main concern with this project is the driveway on East Lewis. I mean, I have 4 kids, that's like on a hill, and it's not a good sight line, and they ride their bikes up and down over there. And I just think that with the buses, it's already a cut through, because it's one of the straightaway streets, and cars that don't belong on our block, use that as a cut through all the time. And I think that this would just make that problem much worse.
Thank you.
2 Hobart Street in Pearl River. I just had a couple of concerns about, the main one is the driveway. I live 2 blocks away from East Louis, so I did actually speak to somebody at 162 East Louis today who couldn't be here because he doesn't really leave the house too much. He's an older gentleman. I did have a question about the plans too, because on the architectural plans, are those names of family, like the homeowners on those plans? Because it seems to be for the Charles Street, but the ones on East Louis, I think they're,
Oh, the 4 at the end of the drop.
Sherwood, Fatigate.
yes.
Yeah, what about?
I don't believe those are the homeowners' names on Lewis, because Mr. Sicarelli at 162 is directly across that, and his name is not listed. I just want it for the record. They could have been prior, okay, all right.
Where they looked it up,
I just think that the two-way driveway on East Louis is a terrible idea. I'd like to see a traffic study done. I agree with Mr. Dell on this, because if you look at the perpendicular street of Forest Avenue 2 blocks away, which I believe I'd like to see a width comparison between Forest Avenue and East Louis, because on Forest, it's the same issue with 7-Eleven, as was mentioned before. They're coming out facing a business, and just recently the town put up no parking signs from the start of that business to Middletown Road. So now are these homeowners potentially going to experience no parking signs on their side of the street in front of their houses, if this is the case, because now it's too narrow and the buses can't turn out, or it's a danger, because I believe that's what it was at 7-Eleven. It was a dangerous situation because you don't have that sight line. So I would really advocate for that. And going back to the EAF, just number 8 was answered no, but I really think that if they're increasing or doubling the amount of people that are going to be part of this, that a traffic study will impact traffic, and that really needs to be looked at. And also number 15 on the EAF, I would like to know when the last survey was done on endangered species, just because there are a lot of trees there, a lot of trees that will be taken down, and the Indiana bat, which was an endangered species with the Hillside Project, that was also a huge issue, and I know that there are bats still in the area, and if they're still part of that, the trees that are there, there's a big issue with clearing that land when they're, I think in their mating season. So I would just like to have that looked at, and I think that's it. Thank you. Oh, the other thing was just I'd like to hear more about the landscaping and the chain link fence along East Louis and in the back of the property, and how that would give privacy to the neighbors right opposite that. Thank you.
Hi, Christina Orphanudakis, O-R, F as in Frank, A, and as in Nancy, O-U, D as in David, A, K-I, S as in Sam, 129 East Louis Avenue. So I have a concern also with the traffic on East Louis. It's a very narrow street. There's a lot of people, children ride their bikes up and down the road. You know, my husband and I take our dog for a walk, and our 3-month-old son now up and down. It's a very narrow road. People use it as a cutaway, as Bridget said. So that's a major concern. Then you're going to put buses, and you're doubling the space, so I don't understand how the buses would still be the same as it is now if you're increasing the amount of children. Also, I'm concerned with the noise of the construction. How long is that going to take to build a new building of that size? Also, air quality when you tear down the existing structure. How is that even going to be safe for the surrounding neighbors to be breathing in? Also, as Heather said, the trees and wildlife in that area, there's a ton of animals that cut through my yard right now. I see bats, I see deer, I've had fox, so that's another concern. Drainage also. I've been getting a lot of water on my property this year. I know we've had more rain than normal. With Safe and Sound being up at the higher elevation, how is that going to work with the runoff and drainage? Another concern, how is this going to affect the property values in this area? you're putting a commercial driveway on a residential street. Personally, I don't see how that's safe for the residents in the area. Like I said, tons of kids, tons of families walking up and down the street all the time, especially when the weather gets better. Everybody's out all the time. When people come home from work, they're going for walks. More daylight hours, people are gonna be outside longer. Again, with the noise, people work from home, stay-at-home mothers, babies at the house and everything. I myself work from home, same with my husband. So it's just a very big concern. And also, how is this gonna affect the people right up against the property line? You know, aesthetically looking, and again, property values. How is this gonna affect the property values if you have commercial property, a huge commercial property, and then in the future, the land is gonna be subdivided? I already heard rumors that they wanted a fast food place. There was talks about a fast food place going there.
Fake news.
Okay, well, this is what I've been hearing and reading about, and everybody else has heard the same thing. Okay, everybody else heard the same thing, so I'm voicing concerns for the community and the residents because this is not, you know, a safe situation for the residents there. I understand daycare is a need and a necessity, but I don't understand why I can't, you know, shut down to make renovations. I get it, you don't want to lose money, nobody does, but this is a huge concern for the residents in the area. Needless to say, I never received a letter about this meeting. I heard about it from my neighbor, and I ran out of the house today to come here. Because this is very concerning, especially as a new parent, a resident of over 5 years, a taxpayer. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Christina Hennessy, 4 Charles Street. How is that? Hennessy. I kind of like a question, if it's okay. It's a daycare, not a school. Oh, sorry. It's a daycare, not a school?
I have to address the chairman.
Oh, sorry. Is it daycare, not a school?
Safe and sound childcare.
Okay, so from my understanding.
50 years.
Yes, so from my understanding, a daycare, people are coming in and out at different times. So the flow of traffic can be not a specific time, there's not a drop off.
And then,
Well, I know that we have a big population of firemen and policemen, and my husband is a policeman, a detective. So when we had daycare providers, we had rotating schedules. So there were people, you know, watching our kids at different hours and different times. So I don't know if these children are being picked up at different times throughout the day, which would make a different type of also traffic pattern for this side entrance on East Louis. And that's just a little bit of concern for us as well. I also have 3 children. One's in 8th grade, one's in 7th grade, and one's in 5th grade. They are always around the neighborhood. They're always riding their bikes. They're always around. And my 8th grader walks home from school because we don't have busing. So this is also something that we're concerned about. All our children have to walk home from school, from the high school. So having an entrance right there on East Louis, just more traffic. And that's the time our kids are walking home from school, the same time that all those kids are getting picked up. So that's, you know, also one of our concerns. Also the corner house, when I looked at the plans, it looks like there's some sort of garbage or dumpster or something like that, which would be close to where my property line is. And I was wondering if it would be possible if that could be placed somewhere else, that it's not near where the houses are, where the residential area is, maybe towards Middletown Road or on the other side, or if that could be somewhere else. Concerned about smell and possibly animals, things like that. Well, that's it. Thanks.
thank you.
Hi, Mary Jo Callanan, C-A-L-L-A-N-A-N, and I'm at 11 East Louis Avenue. So I also did not receive a letter. So this is the first night I'm hearing about this. I actually learned about it about a half hour ago and threw my clothes back on and ran out the door.
Which end of the street is 11?
It's towards Main Street.
And you're probably too far away.
Too far away.
500 feet.
Okay.
200.
What's the?
200.
200 feet.
200 feet, so only homes within 200 feet receive that. Okay. Okay, I understand that that's obviously a regulation or whatnot, but the issue with the entrance and exit that's gonna be on East Louis is gonna impact all of East Louis. It's not just 200 feet of East Louis, number one. Whether or not it's a daycare and people are coming in just at a couple hours in the morning and picking up at a couple hours at night, there's gonna be double, as we're hearing, the amount of children in this unit, which means there's going to be double amount of traffic with parents coming in and out at possibly different times, going up and down East Louis, a residential street. If I had a child in that child care facility, I would avoid Middletown Road knowing that East Louis had an exit and an entrance. And where would I go? I'd come around Main Street and come all the way up East Louis, right past every single person on East Louis to enter and exit off of that entrance there. Horrible idea. The children in that neighborhood are running all around. They're up and down the street, they're riding their bikes, they're playing in yards. That's a very narrow street. I agree that a traffic report needs to be conducted. I think that they have to reconsider the exit and entrance on East Louis. I don't know if it had ever been considered to do some sort of a U-shaped exit entrance off of Middletown Road. Enter in where they currently enter, exit out at another location, right onto Middletown Road as well. Not sure why the residential street has to be part of this whole plan. And I'm also concerned about the overdevelopment of that property as well. Sounds as though it looks as though that facility is humongous. I mean, I'm not even sure how it fits on that property where it is now. And then the extra land that you're talking about redeveloping in the future, I mean, that's going to be a largely, grossly overdeveloped plot of land, which is a big concern for the residents in the community. So I hope you reconsider. I think my biggest concern is the traffic pattern and the entrance and exit off of a residential street of East Louis. And I hope that that's thought about more with more intent and purpose. Thank you.
My name is John Ballison, B-A-L-I-S-O-N. I'm a licensed professional engineer with a background in traffic engineering. My firm actually did the design for the Middletown Road sidewalks and the traffic study on Middletown Road with the various new signals and appurtenances that we're installing there. I'm not here as a representative of the town, I'm here as a resident, but I do have some knowledge of what's happening on Middletown Road with regard to traffic. So I haven't studied the plan, I just looked at it a little bit on the wall over there, and for this kind of development, I think it's true that most of the traffic occurs in the morning and the evening, and that's principally the problem with this. There's 158, I think, students was on the plan. So there's 158 students, and there are 24 staff members and maybe some other staff, total of 43 spaces. So you know that most of the spaces are going to be taken up by staff probably before the students get there. Now, in the design hour, maybe it's 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning when people are going to work, they're going to be all dropping off their kids, so most of these kids are getting dropped off within the same hour and a half. So now you've got upwards of 150 cars that have to circulate through this property to drop kids off. Now, I mean, I've dropped my kid off at daycare, when they were younger, and it takes a little while to get an infant out of a car. So you have to park somewhere, you have to get your child out, you get them in, it could take 5-10 minutes to unload your car and get back in your car and be on your way. So there's really no way you can push 150 cars through this parcel, in even 2 hours, I would say, in the morning, and then pick up in the evening. I think another problem that I see is that Middletown Road, it really is impossible to make a left and even a right out of Lewis Avenue during the design hour, which is probably about 5 o'clock, just because of the way that traffic signal backs up at Blowout Road. So making a right is hard, making a left's almost impossible out of Lewis. So what's going to happen is East Louis is going to become your primary departure route, in the evening. And then I don't live on East Louis, but I am one of the people that cuts through. I'm sorry, but I do go slow. And I can tell you there are a lot of kids that walk to school because they don't get the bus. And mostly high school kids, and they're walking in the middle of the road. There's kids on bikes, that kind of thing. And I don't think it's safe to push that many vehicles out onto Lewis Avenue to make that your primary departure point. So, that's all I have to say. I would say with the buses, I don't think there's a way for a bus to turn around in this traffic pattern on the property. So I'm not sure a bus could pull in on Lewis Avenue and pull out on Lewis Avenue. So I think they would have to circulate through. So, okay, I'll come back when you have the public hearing.
What was your address, sir?
I live on 2 Glen Court. I live off of Earhart Road.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chris Sweeney. My name's Bella. I live on Hobart Street, 2 blocks over. My main concern is the exit. I know lots of people that love safe and sound. It's nothing against the business, but to have a driveway on Lewis is a really big mistake. We've had 2 accidents on Lewis that I know of. The last one, the police were there. That was about a year ago. Just strictly due to speed. It is the fastest cut-through road. It's faster than Forest. And when you come up that hill, there's a blind spot, especially when it's sunny. There's so many kids up there. It is an accident waiting to happen. That was my main concern. Even when I stopped to look at the pink sign that was posted, I had to watch where I parked against the woods. And I looked, and I'm thinking the people can't see me behind, and I have to move. I had to park on Charles to make sure that I wasn't really a danger sitting there. My other concern is somebody on Charles said that they didn't get the letter in the mail until yesterday, and that is within 200 feet. And then the other thing would be the drainage issue for those houses on Charles, because once that's all blacked up, I can't see how they wouldn't get water in their backyards. So that's it.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Could we have a 3-minute response?
So my name is Rini Stadicini, Spadacccini, and I think regarding the traffic on East Lewis is really most of what everybody else already said. And I'm the second house in on East Lewis, from what I could see on the paper, the in and out would be right across the street, or close enough to right across the street from my house. So that concerns me for traffic. It concerns me for the safety of all these kids down the block, because there are a ton of kids down the block riding bikes and just running. There's a ton of them in the morning and in the afternoon. Anytime there's daylight, they're out. So that's a grave concern. That's all.
What's your address, please?
Oh, 168 East Lewis Avenue.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? With that,
Motion to close public portion.
motion closed, second.
Would like to answer, could I have a 3-minute break, please? Could I speak to my client?
Absolutely.
All right.
The client's going to speak for a couple minutes. We'll pick it up when
And you don't want to
return
close,
in less than
Bill,
5 minutes.
you don't want to close the public?
We did.
Nobody
No
seconded.
one seconded.
Good question, not about this project, but I remember when we got trained, we opened open session. I thought when we if we asked Amy questions, how we would open it up to all. And then we kept it open until the answers are given by the applicant. We asked, but then we. Yeah, I mean, like, once, like right now, I thought we closed the public. They could answer, but we couldn't ask any more questions. We closed public. And we'd open it again, to ask more questions. We always ask more questions without opening it. We always do it.
I see. More questions, but they say anything else, it may raise more questions.
That's why I just want to keep it open so we die. Let's ask this question right now. No, I totally get that. I'm just saying that right now.
right, folks, we're gonna restart again, assuming you're ready to restart, Mr. Brown?
Okay, I just,
Just so you know, we did close the public portion. We need to reopen it, so, but, we're ready.
okay, I've spoken to my clients. Again, as I said, they're local people here, they've been here for many, many years. Many people here are their neighbors, and some even use the school. They've listened, okay? What they're going to do is they're going to go back, and they are gonna retain the services of a traffic engineer, and they will tell him to look into possibly changing the design and not discharging onto the private street. They're gonna do that study and try to do that, but they don't have to go onto the private street.
Side street.
The resident is Lewis,
I mean, just for an example, I mean, you have the building here, right? So why can't you move the building closer to Lewis and flip-flop the parking? Then you could come in this way, you could turn around and go right back out this way. Or you could loop it.
One of the things we were considering is looping it in like this, and making this a two-way, making it a two-way, the other thing I wanted to just mention with respect to drainage, the entire site right now just has no curbing, there's no mitigation, there's no catch basins, there's nothing. And as I mentioned previously, the property is sloped from east to west, and probably runoff that gets into the backyards of the adjacent properties. When the building is constructed, and whatever the traffic pattern is, the runoff will be captured by the parking lot curbing and catch basins, and all discharged into an underground detention system, which is providing for 100-year storm mitigation. It would discharge into the drainage system, municipal drainage system that would be extended on Lewis, so that there would be no, in fact, they will get less water towards the west than they get now, even in the forested state that the backyard is in. Because all of the drainage from the roof and all of the drainage from all of the pavement will be discharged to the drainage system that will be completely mitigating that storm, and then into Lewis. So the drainage is not a concern. We feel that we've very well adequately addressed that, as is indicated by the comments from Bruce Peters, even though there are conditions, as well as from Mr. DeGennaro. But obviously, there's the traffic pattern is something that we need to work on and look at.
Does that mean you're gonna do a traffic study?
Yes, we will hire a traffic engineer, he will study it, and we will tell the traffic
You're
engineer,
gonna get a formal report from the traffic
yes,
engineer?
and we will tell the traffic engineer to try and design something that we don't go out onto exposed.
And will that encompass just not only Lewis, are we talking Manor, are we gonna go, will he observe something from Pierce to, I don't know, Crooked Hill's too far, but I would factor in Manor as well as Lewis in this study.
He'll look into it, I don't know, if it, I think what we really have to show is that the traffic that's gonna be generated from this operation is not gonna be detrimental to the people who are here and having a problem with it.
That's fine, as long as he accurately reflects where all the traffic is coming to, and not just focus on the in and out on Middletown Road. Factor in Lewis, to Lewis.
There was nothing we can do, honestly, for the other streets. It's really a county problem or a town problem. There's nothing we can do. These people own this piece of property, they've been paying taxes on this property for many, many years. They're trying to reuse it, beneficial to the community and to themselves. And there is no talk about putting in a fast food or anything like that. Whoever's starting these rumors, just like to start rumors, they had people that actually wanted to buy the property, do what they want to do. They say they've been in all these years, it's their operation, they want to keep it. It's a family-run operation.
I appreciate that, but let's just make sure we accomplish
Yes.
Traffic study.
And so we are going to ask for a continuation.
Yeah, Mr. Burnham, when you do your traffic study, whoever does it, have them take a look at the Middletown Road pedestrian safety project, and make sure there are no crosswalks being added up there that may interfere with your traffic study. And it was, apparently I think it's finally approved, but I think they're supposed to start in the spring, but I would take a look at those plans so that you don't run into each other. If there's a crosswalk or something else, so they're putting up signal there, not as it's a traffic light, but a
We'll look
crosswalk signal.
at the design.
Yeah, please, thank you.
All right.
The applicant has asked for continuance. This project will come back once they've looked at the design, gone through the traffic study. You will be notified. Keep an eye out for the flyers when they get posted again. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to get more dresses.
Folks, we still have another project to review. Sign the sheet right there, sir. Sir, sign the sheet.
Take care.
Everybody ready to pick it up? We have PB 19-20, 1050 Route W site plan. It's continued from November 13th, 2019. Folks have to sign the project here?
Sure. There's an existing dwelling on the premises, it's old and decrepit, and we'd like to remove it and put a new dwelling on the property. We addressed the majority of most of the comments that the professionals had, and we're here for final approval.
Start off with comments. The PRC has no additional comments beyond the comments submitted by other agencies for this project. Letter from the Office of Building, Zoning and Planning, dated February 24th, 2020, from James Slavin. Ms. Slavin has two comments. Actual review is required. The EAF must be revised as noted and resubmitted to the Orangetown Building, Zoning and Planning by Wednesday morning today. Was it done?
Yeah.
Yes, we received a copy.
Yes.
It's in order now?
Yes.
From the Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, assuming it's Mr. Peters, Bruce Peters, February 24th, 2020. Mr. Peters has 7 comments. Any issue?
No, we do it all.
Reviewed them, understand? potential significant impact with respect to stormwater runoff. Therefore, we recommend that the 1050 Route 9W site plan be approved for drainage subject to the above project comments. We had comments, other letters to read in from the January 29th meeting. James, no, James has been amended, or?
That's correct. Supersedes.
Superseded. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, Mr. Peters had 18 comments, he's now down to 7. I'm assuming he's.
He said it supersedes. His letter says supersedes 24.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Yes, yes.
Yes, they continued last time to address it.
They show?
It was postponed, we need to read letters from January 19th, which I think they just superseded, but,
Yeah.
knowledge.
My letter and Bruce Peters' letter will, from November, would be superseded at this point.
Yeah,
And so would Brooker.
and everything else has been read into the record, the November 13th and the March 27th.
We're done. Thank you. Comments, gentlemen? Ms. Mendel?
No comments at this time.
Mr. Sweeney?
Just a quick question, you said you'd give the final, is that correct?
It's advertised for all three
Okay, all
levels,
three.
it's your choice what you want to
Okay,
do.
but it has to go out the board. Okay. And, was it? Yeah, I guess, you said you got Bruce Peters' letter, you had no problems with question one, you said that, the perk tests were formed and they failed. And, you said if they failed, how will the impact, how will that impact the location of frustrated TV? Also, announce the capacity of the New York State, visiting vacancies shall be submitted. All submissions shall be added to the revised set of drain calculated. Has that been done?
Yeah, exactly.
So we wrote this in, February 24th, and it's been done since then?
Yeah, the applicant submitted to DOT.
We have that?
I mean, we just gave it to them.
That was discussed at project review on Friday morning.
Okay. All right, that's my question.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Mr. Andrews?
I don't have any questions.
Mr. Bond?
I have no questions.
Mr. Dowd?
Yes, the only comment is, it's a difficult site, and I think the applicant did a very good job of what he had to do.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn.
Mr. McCoy?
Everything was good, no comments?
Mr. Sweeney indicated he still would have to waive it on that board, or he could still just final
They can get final condition
based on?
with Akabor approval. If Akabor
I don't know.
requests any type of changes from what the plan that you approved, they would have to come back.
Okay.
And the conditions of Bruce's letter, they would have to meet before building, the site plan could be stamped.
Open it up to the public.
From the public, anything to say about that?
You hear what the project? Sure.
All right. Motion for, close public portion. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make that can.
Lead agency.
I'll make motion for lead agency.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll make motion to make that.
Second.
Mr. Mendel seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
I'll make motion for final conditions. We have Ms. Slavens, 2 comments from February 24th. 7 comments from Bruce Peters. Brooker Engineering Drainage, recommending approval, subject to his 9 comments.
Yeah, that's what we need that.
21st, 19. That's it, Joe?
Yeah, that's it.
Second. Second, Mr. Sweeney seconds. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Thank you very much. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you. First, Sweeney said, who said first? Who? First
Bond.
motion, Bond?
Final,
Got
Sweeney
it.
second.
You understand they have to go to Apple, right?
Yes, I can fill in an application for a couple, or you wanna get a certificate for the first, have to do the application?
Cheryl, same process, Cheryl.
Oh, okay, that's tomorrow, you can.
First one is the transit orientation.
Say whatever you want.
Town board, what's? Yes.
Yes.
Are we getting the double fence?
Yeah, I'm sure, let them know. You sent me an email at the end of the day.
Was it inappropriate to ask a question? Some guidance?
Why don't you ask me?
We were just running an idea of making this whole traffic pattern one way and sweeping this exit towards Middletown Road and making it no right turn. So that everybody is forced to come out and make a traffic pattern loop and then come out and head back out onto Middletown Road at an intersection where instead, our concern is that we don't want to put a two-way intersection right opposite Manor.
Right, that could be an issue, so
It could be,
that
it
can
would
be
be.
addressed in your traffic study as one of the
Right. So it's just
possible
something.
solutions.
Maybe where it'd be possible for people to make a left.
Yeah, if you make a definitive swoop,
Right, yeah.
and you bend the traffic
Right.
and have a signage, some people will.
Even decide, you have to have a concrete there where they can't.
Right, exactly.
If that's one of the scenarios, you know, you have your scenario where
But it would also prohibit the left turn in, so there wouldn't be anybody short-circuiting and going through the
Right.
East Lewis and coming up and turning left.
That's exactly how the kinder care is in Old Tappan.
Right.
They have one that's like,
All right.
Yeah, it could definitely work.
yeah, a few scenarios in the traffic study Jay made.
Yes. All right.
Have any comments on the TOD?
Yes, Ms. Mendel, I have a comment on the TOD. Please share.
Okay, in my opinion, I recommend that
We're talking about the first other business, the TOD.
Yep, okay. In my opinion, I recommend that the request from the town board to the lead agency in this matter be shelved at this time. The zoning map proposed still shows the central Edmond Field, the Franklin Avenue Elementary School, Pearl Library, and the Pearl Fire Department, and zones that could be developed under the zoning proposal. Further, it differs from the map mailed by Orangetown to Pearl River residents in 2019. Secondly, there are omissions and errors in full environmental assessment form. Part 1, land uses. E1D omits the Pearl River Library, the group home for people with disabilities, the art facility in the central area of the field, the children's park is utilized by people with disability and the elderly. Proposed and potential development, D1C states the number of units will be 472, and with the density bonus increased to 588. This is respectively 18% and 47% increases above the approximately 400 units September 17, 2019 public hearing. D1G2 asked for a maximum height of structure and 3 stories presented. However, the presentation states 45 feet is more accurate answer. Project operations, D2C states Suez has the capacity to serve the proposal. Water is a scarce commodity in this county according to Rockland County Planning, and confirmation should have been obtained from Suez Water. The full environmental assessment form, part 2, number 5, impact on flooding was marked no. According to the form, if E2, I, J, K were marked yes in part 1, this question must be answered in part 2, and it was not. Number 18, consistency with community character is marked no. Part 1, C2 and C3 parts are marked yes, therefore the question should be marked yes. Specifically in regards to subsection B, create demand for additional community service, that is schools, police, and fire. How can this plan be sent out to other agencies for comment when the plan is flawed? And additionally, the previous public hearing on this plan should be reopened since the residents of Pearl River were never fully apprised of the actual number of units proposed. Thank you, that's my comment.
Mr. Young, just so the board knows, there are 2 things for the board to consider. Number 1, the first and most basic is, does the board agree that the town board should be lead agency? And then secondly, do you have a comment for the town board relating to this item? The board acts by majority vote, so Mr. Mandel has clearly thought a lot about this issue and has a very well thought out comment. The board can vote on that, and if the board does, that can be sent as a comment to the town board. If not, each individual member can write or show up and express their concerns, but if there's not a majority vote, then that comment should not be provided to the town board.
I apologize. This is the first time I've seen it today, so I don't know if you guys, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Yeah, I don't have a problem going. Well,
I think probably the first is, do you agree that the town board should be lead agency?
I don't know necessarily agree that you should be doing this, to be perfectly honest with you.
And again, if you don't vote, they become, after 30 days, they automatically become. So if you don't want to agree that they be lead agency, that's one way to proceed.
Don't you call it that? They've got to be lead agency.
They have to, yeah.
And at this point, it's for circulation.
Yeah, right.
It's to move to the next step.
Yeah, but they're circulating a product that is flawed, with omissions, and was not open to the public when they changed things within it. The 2 presentations, the map that they gave out to people in Pearl River does not match the map that we were provided tonight. That's number 1. Number 2, there are flaws in the full environmental impact study, and the response in part 2 is also flawed. How can we send out a flawed product to other agencies for comment, when in fact, there is this problem? And therefore, it should be shelved by the town board until it's corrected, and there's a reopening of the public hearing, so people now knowing that there could be up to 588 units in downtown Pearl River be addressed and notified properly of the fact. That's summation of my statement.
So you're saying you don't want the town to be lead agency?
No, I don't. I think they should, at this point in time, they should shelve the whole thing into a further time.
No. Yes or no to the
No.
lead agency? Steve?
But we said if we vote no,
If you vote no or don't do anything, there's after
30 days, they'll be
they're going to be, as Mr. Brenner said, they're going to be lead agency. There's no one
So
else
why
to
make
be
it
lead agency.
even if we vote no.
Even if you vote no, you don't have any say in it.
Well, don't make it.
I mean,
It's making a statement.
That's the word stand.
I would rather,
Yeah, well,
I mean, if you don't say anything, they automatically
No,
30
they're gonna be
days.
lead
when
agency.
you ask my opinion, I
And
would
if you
say
say
that.
no,
Wait,
Mike's
okay,
letter in
too many
there, I
people
don't
talk.
have a problem.
Mike's letter's going in, there's no doubt about it.
So my comment was, that's why I asked the question, I don't see any value to voting no, but I do want to ensure that letter gets included in our comments.
I mean, let me just
That's
say,
why we-
as attorney for this board, having Cheryl send something to the town board saying that you do not agree that they're lead agency may cause them to question your, I know what Mike is saying, that he doesn't agree it's ready to go forward, but again, that's a distinct thing from who should be lead agency. you know, are you proposing that this board be lead agency? You can't. Under the law, you're not an eligible board to be lead agency.
Will they fire him?
What if we could say,
I think you were just reappointed, you got another 7 years.
right, well, we could say,
before
we could say,
I'll be gone before that term.
look, by law, you're gonna be a lead agency since it's the zoning, the change of zone. However, we do not feel that you should go forward with the project until these questions are answered.
That's the comments.
And these are the comments.
Right,
So,
by
folks,
default,
let's
a
get-
lead agency, it's a
Let's get back to lead agency.
So
So, Mike's no, Steve,
Yes.
Andy.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
What I was gonna say is, if we vote them as lead agency, everybody
And
says
again, they're not
yes.
voting.
Well, I mean, if we,
The law says it has to circulate to,
so then we just tell them that you
It's a
have to
courtesy
make these
message,
corrections
basically.
before you go forward.
That's part of the comment.
While we agree you should be lead agency, we strongly feel that.
and then you can make those, we agree that you should be
Why
lead
don't we
agency.
say,
Mike, you were saying the Central Avenue field is in there and all that
it
stuff?
still is, they took it
I
out
mean, that's
partially, they put it
Right,
back.
so
That's not something-
guys, think of it this way. With county planning, they agree to make you lead agency, but then they have a list of comments.
Right.
That's basically what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, what would you think if the county said, we don't agree that you're lead agency on the town planning board matter?
Right,
We'll get our lawyer after.
I'm not defending you.
right. That's
We do
basically,
that on a regular matter, from the county.
So where we going?
Do we agree with that,
Mike's gonna send his text to Rick, who will copy
Because,
and
no, I
paste.
gave it to him.
No,
So,
you're gonna send it to
I
him,
just
so you
want to
copy and
thank you
paste.
for making it such large lettering.
They get carpal tunnels typing that baby.
so again, just so, because the board acts by voting, and Mike, I guess, is the person with the floor and has thought about this the most. Mike, are you proposing that this board vote on not agreeing, or on agreeing that they are lead agency, but then
Yeah,
add this?
I'm just
these are our
saying at
comments?
this point in time, since you said, by law, you,
We
since it's
acknowledge,
a zoning, we acknowledge that by law, you would be the lead
you are
agency in
the
zoning
appropriate
matter.
lead agency.
However, this project should not go forward until corrections are made.
So we
It's like-
acknowledge
Well,
by
Because
law.
Everybody
Because you
can't
got,
we say, we suggest
But-
that you examine the following?
no, but they have
comments?
stuff in there like the Central Avenue property, the library, Franklin Avenue, the old William Street School, those are all
Yeah,
owned by the
residential
school district, they
areas.
can't rezone those, they don't have any authority to do that. None.
Right.
So they shouldn't, they shouldn't be mentioned in the in what they have
Why
mentioned.
don't they have the authority
It
to
can
do
The school district property, we don't have to sell it, we don't have to do it, they
that?
can't,
But they could change the zone on it.
no,
Oh, yes, they can. You said they can't.
we
Well,
own
that's
that.
the problem.
We
You
own
can
the
own,
property.
so what? I own a property, you
We own the
can
property.
change the zone whenever you want to. Town board's got the power to change the zone wherever they want to.
They're like the McGee's.
Mr. Brenner, I guess technically you really should not be sitting up.
Sorry.
The matter has not been
I don't know.
published.
Listen, I got rubber bands, I'm not afraid to use
That's
them.
right.
So I guess,
What do we
can we
doing here?
vote on, I guess, vote on, first of all, acknowledging or agreeing that the town board should be lead agency? Let's just do that as one matter.
That nothing can be built.
I agree with you.
So we should.
Is there a
Agreed.
vote? Okay.
Agreed. I agree.
Agreed that it should be
I'm in favor of them being
Everybody's
the
in agreement
agency.
with that?
Okay.
With the caveat that,
And then, that being said, our comments are as follows.
Right.
And then everyone's had a chance, everyone listened to
Yeah, take
it.
out, take out the first sentence that says I don't agree, you shouldn't be the agency.
So take out
The
one.
first sentence says,
Yeah, the first
don't
sentence,
agree, you should be the
read
agency.
the first sentence.
Yeah.
I heard most of
Okay.
it all of that.
Want to remove the first sentence?
Don't, this.
But you want to say, in my opinion, this matter should be shelved at this time.
That's
That's
what I said.
In
our
OUR.
opinion.
OUR.
our,
I'm gonna change it
It's
from
our
mine
opinion.
to us. I'll change it around.
Yes.
Wow.
Cheryl will make it grammatically correct. She'll fix it.
Thank you, Cheryl.
we're good, Rick?
We should vote on it then?
That's not something obviously I'm gonna sign tonight, or,
Do the vote.
when is this due?
No,
Did
you
you
don't
actually
have to
vote?
sign it at all.
Oh, okay.
No, no, I just write
Should
it
we
down
vote on
with
the
the town
comments?
board. and be done.
You should vote on the
I
comment.
vote yes.
Voting on the comments from Michael? Yes.
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 Yes. All in agreement?
Thank you, Mike.
I don't have to defend you.
What's next?
Quiet.
Well,
Club West at Pearl River, Phase 2.
Yes, I have a back, I have a back problem.
He's a little batty lately.
She's gonna bring us together. It's a good thing Heather left.
Okay, the statute said very basically, if I don't get the trees down by March 31st, by the way, I made a mistake. March 31st, we can't get on the property until November. And this has got final approval, it's got, we're doing all the paperwork. We're never gonna get the map signed in the time period. The board has done this before, we're asking permission from the board so that we can take the trees down.
What about the Eagles?
That we're taking care of.
I have that as
We
one
will
of my
get, we will
comments.
get that from, we will get that from the deeds.
Is there an eagle's nest over there?
No,
No, there's,
It's across the residence, of course.
right.
many,
But-
Field, right?
But the way their letter reads is that it should be checked each year. So it's one of my comments, and they need to
a letter
confirm.
from the DEC saying
Right.
Right, so you need the trees cleared before April 1st.
before March,
By
March 31st,
Oh, okay,
yeah,
for the bats.
the bats. No, I wasn't kidding, I really wasn't.
So, Mr. Chairman, there's a few comments that I received from Bruce at the end of the day today, if I could just mention them, in addition to my 3 comments. Bruce is requiring a double row of silt fence around the entire tree clearing area, as well as a DEC standard construction entrance. And this is just for the temporary tree removal work only. And the special stormwater criteria features will need to remain in place until actual construction starts. And he's also requesting that the applicant set up a contact Tom Editel from,
Yeah, this project's
DEM.
supposed to come back before.
no, it has fine.
Oh,
We're just doing the bookkeeping stuff right
It's
right
okay,
now.
Because-
How long will it take you to get rid of the trees you need to get rid of?
a week. I got to file a permit now with the building department for permission to demolish.
He's gotta come in with a permit and meet these requirements. We'll issue the permit. There's a pre-construction meeting.
Right, and then,
DEME and building inspector will go out there to make sure these provisions have been put in place before they can put a shovel or
And
saw
what's-
a tree.
What's our recourse on making sure this project gets built? Yeah. So we don't get burnt again like we got burnt last time we did this.
This is,
Uh,
my understanding, this has happened a few
Not
times.
by land.
Mr. Bond, this is the bond.
project. We still got burned by it. It's not a lane project. I know, I know, but,
Okay.
but I mean.
My
like,
understanding is this has
that's-
happened on a few large-scale projects throughout the town, not just Hillside.
Right.
Right, that's
Okay.
correct.
And again, there is a bond for that, so set that aside. So,
Right.
and they're actively trying to,
Yeah,
Finish the
I don't
site
have any
plan.
doubt that they're not gonna, but I just throwing that out there, because we did get burned by
Well, that's
that.
Mr. Lane.
I mean, it's been there for way too long, so.
different story.
Yeah.
This mail's gonna work tomorrow, but it just takes time.
So,
And the map can't get signed until we meet all the requirements.
Right.
you have to vote on this? You're okay with all these
Yes.
prerequisites?
Absolutely, yes,
Okay.
but make it March 31st.
March 31st. okay.
Mr. Young, I think there should be a vote with the conditions.
Gentlemen, are we in agreement to allow this?
I'll make a motion to, for the tree cutting, by March 31st.
March 31st.
Complete by March 31st.
With the conditions.
With the conditions.
All conditions being met.
from OBZ and DEM.
Yeah. I'll second. Mr. Andrews, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Bats.
Come on, you're a pain in the ass tonight. What's going on?
Still on camera, dude.
Oh, excuse me.
Very responsible.
See, he's getting batty.
I wasn't gonna bring the bat disease, we wanna keep that for River.
Yeah, I think going to.
Listen, if you come to the next meeting with a black and red cape, we're a little worried.
We have Lorraine
Well, I do
Weber,
remember the iPads done.
re-subdivision, 90-day extension, they don't come in for that?
Yeah, it's over 6 months, but by 1 day. So I really need to sign the map, but I can't do it because I ran out of time.
Yes. So you need us to approve the
The
90-day?
90-day extension,
I'm gonna
yeah, so I can sign the map.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
received in his letter. He wants to see if he can get Akabor waived. He still has to come back to you.
Why does he want to waive that door?
He's, doing a driveway, did we do
Oh,
that?
yeah.
And retaining wall.
Yeah.
Retaining wall?
Yeah, but
That's on the
he
steep
got
slope.
preliminary, he went to zoning board and has to come back to you for final.
Yeah, retaining wall, on both sides of the driveway on 9W. And he's taking some trees down to accomplish it.
How tall are the walls, you know?
I do not recall, but
But why does he want to?
They're not like 16 feet high. He wants to waive it, then we have to give it 16. What's his reasoning for asking the waiver for the waiver? What's his rationale?
He's taking down part of the garage, which needed to be taken down.
No, but.
he's reconfiguring the driveway
Yeah.
and adding retaining walls.
Right, which he went to Agricultural for, right? Or no, he didn't go to Agricultural, he went to ZBA for? He went to Agricultural.
He has not gone to Act 4.
Okay, so he went to ZBA for that?
Yeah, he went to ZBA already.
And we recommend that board.
No,
No, it's nothing in the decision saying Akabor.
Okay. Jane, do you have any detail, any idea of how, what type of
I
retaining wall?
can't, there's too many people talking. I
Okay,
don't have the ability to tune it out, so.
okay. I'll talk.
Okay.
The retaining walls,
What about it?
are they gonna be, is it just, interlocking block? Is it,
I don't recall. I don't remember
gabion?
what they are. It just says landscape wall. So,
I'm not in favor of waiving this.
all right.
I agree with this. I'm not.
No. So we vote, or we just
No,
not act?
no, it was other business. I'll just tell him he has to go to Akabor.
Okay,
That's it.
that wraps them up.
Minutes or anything?
Yes, minutes. January 29th.
Motion to approve minutes for January 29th. Second.
All in favor? Aye. I'll abstain because I wasn't here.
You had a legitimate excuse.
I was on the, we could have cracked your chest here.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Hey, Bond, I want to see the scars. I want to see the
All in
scars.
favor?
Bond.
Aye.